Hello, welcome to the Bold Team Hangouts. And we are going to talk about what the hell does water have to do with your business? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. So first, we're going to introduce the panel. I am going to go to Jamie. Jamie.
I'm so excited that I got to go first today. Usually it's Carol. That's so exciting. Jamie Donnelly, New Jersey, internet mogul. And you know what? Despite what you might be talking about today, water is a big part of business for me. But I think you might be going somewhere different with that. But we'll see how I can tie in some product placement into your hangout tonight, Michelle.
Good luck with that. We're not talking anything about that, Jamie. Hey, Dan. Ellie, you're next. Would you like to say hey?
Oh my God, I thought I was muted. Hi, I'm Ellie Walsh, upstate New York. I don't know. I don't know if I'm a Mongol. What is it? A mogul? A Mongol? Whatever. I'm an affiliate marketer, online marketer. I like to do business online. So I'm here with this crazy bold team, and we all want to know, what the hell does water got to do with business? So that's why I'm here. Let's do it.
Awesome. Hey, Danny, come on out, say hi.
Hey, Michelle. Thanks. Hey, I'm Danny Cluche from Ontario, Canada. I'm the international unit on the panel tonight. And I'm also an affiliate marketer, online marketer. And yeah, I'm pretty interested to find out what water has to do with our business.
Okay, awesome. Catherine, come say hi.
Hi, it's Catherine. And I'm an internet entrepreneurist, as I call myself. So, and I can't wait till we find out what water has to do with business, because I'm interested in that. So anyway, thanks, Michelle. And I'll listen to see our topic.
Great, thank you. I love how you were cracking yourself up in the beginning. I love that. Catherine, come on, or not Catherine, Carol. I'm sorry, Carol. I'm looking at Catherine on my screen still. Carol, come on out, say hi.
Okay, how's the voice now? Okay. Hi, I'm Carol Mikowski, and I am at the other end of the house from Ellie in upstate New York. I'm an online marketer, and I read the same book that I think this is going to be based on, but I don't recall the information that Michelle is about to share with us, so that's fine. I'm eager to hear.
Awesome. Okay, well, this is based on the book, The Power of Habit. Now, the previous Hangouts I've done, and again, remember, I talk with my hands. The previous Hangouts that I've done was based on The Slight Edge. And the best book for follow-up with that was The Power of Habit. And so I wanted to make sure I was unmuted. So that's where this topic is coming from tonight. And it's funny, I was going to title it differently. And I got to the end of the chapters, and they talked about a small little story of two little fishies. And the title just popped right out of there. So let me tell you the story. All right. There's two little fish, and they're young, and they've been swimming around. They're swimming all, around and around, and they meet up with an older fish. And he says, "Good morning, boys. How's the water?" And they swam off, and they looked at each other and went, "What the hell is water?" And so, we've been doing the What the Hell series. So I figured, hey, got to continue it, right? So the water represents all of the habits that we have. The habits that we know we have, the habits that we don't even think about. They represent the good habits and the not so good habits. And we all have those, right? We all have the good habits and the not so good habits. So tonight I am going to teach you how you can change any habit that you have, there is a formula, and I'll share that with you. I actually created some slides so that if you're visual, you can see it more visually. And so we will talk about how you can change habits. Now, is it going to be easy to change some habits? No, it's not. I'm not going to lie. It's, as you know, if you've tried to stop smoking or stop drinking or gambling or, stop sitting on the couch and instead go exercise, habits can be difficult to break. People say we break habits. We need to break that habit. We need to break that habit. You can't break habits. They're always going to be in there. But if you can change one piece of that habit, you can totally change it to something more positive. All right. So let me share my screen and tell you what I'm talking about, or show you what I'm talking about. Okay. So I'm going to share screen. No, doesn't want that. All right, hold on a second. Let me bring it back. There's two choices, and that one choice always takes you into the infinity. Nope, that one did too. What the heck? I hope I can share my screen. Let me bring it up. Can you see that? Can somebody come out and tell me you can see it?
I see to infinity
Right, the
and
tunnel.
Are
beyond.
you still?
What? Yeah. What are you trying to grab when you're in there?
I'm trying to do a PowerPoint.
So you have it up already. You're not seeing it as an option when you go to share the screen.
Well, let me see if I can do
You have
double.
to have it open.
Yeah, I have it. Let me see. There it is. You're right. Okay, now do you see it?
Yes.
All right, awesome. Okay, so let me start the slideshow. Okay, so the habit. Okay, there is a formula. We have a cue, we have a routine, and there's a reward. All right, now you want to always keep the cue and keep the routine, but if you want to change a habit, that you change the routine, or I'm sorry, I don't know if I said that right. You keep the cue and you keep the reward, but if you want to change a habit, you change the routine. Okay, so I'm going to give you some examples of what I'm talking about. All right, so let's say, and I am a smoker. I haven't had a cigarette since November of last year, but I do the vapor, so I still consider that smoking. But, what are the cues for my wanting to have a cigarette? Okay, so maybe I'm stressed, or I'm bored, or, when we have habits, sometimes it's cued by a certain time on the clock. Oh, it's 12. I have to go have a cigarette. Oh, it's 1:30. I have to go have a cigarette. Okay. And the routine would be I would go outside to have a cigarette. And then the reward from having that cigarette would be maybe the nicotine rush. I'd be more relaxed, more refreshed. So if I wanted to stop smoking, the cue would be the same. It would still cue me when I was stressed or bored or a certain time of the day. And the reward would still leave me relaxed and refreshed. But I would change that routine. And instead of going out for a cigarette, maybe I could go outside and get some fresh air, or go for a little walk, take a 5-minute break. When you think about it, if you're a smoker, if you go outside, most people go outside to have a cigarette. When they go outside, they're breathing, even though they're breathing bad air, they're still breathing. Okay. They're concentrating on breathing. They take a 5-minute break. And so we can still have that, but we just don't grab that cigarette. Okay. So we need to know two things. We need to know what the reward is that habit brings us to. Okay, what is the reward that you get? And then you need to know what the cue is. What are you doing when you think, okay, now I got to go get that reward? Okay, I'm bored, so I'm going to go have a cigarette. Okay. And then if you know the cue and you know the reward, then you can change the routine. And yes, it's good. Some things will take time, and it takes a couple days to know what your cue is and what your reward is. And in the book, they recommend writing down every time you feel like you want to have a cigarette. What are you doing immediately before? And then what do you feel like at the end? What your reward is at the end. And if you can't figure out what your reward is or your cue is by keeping track like that for a couple of days, it will be apparent to you, okay, what your reward and your cue is. So let's give another example here. We've got John, okay. John works in an office, and every day about 3:30, John gets up, goes to the cafeteria, grabs a cookie, and then goes and talks to his friends for a few minutes while he eats his cookie. Well, he wants to change that habit because he's gaining a couple of pounds, and he doesn't like the fact that he goes and he grabs a cookie every afternoon. He wants to change it, okay? But he wants to know what the cue is, and he wants to know what the reward is. So John takes a few days, and every time, you know, he feels like he wants to get up and go get a cookie, he writes down what he's doing immediately before that feeling. All right. So the first day he was reading emails. The second day it was 3:25 in the afternoon. It was the time. The next day he was in a meeting or just come out of a meeting. Okay. And then what the reward was, well, you know, was it the sugar rush? Was it the fact that he got up and he exercised a little bit by walking to the cafeteria? Was it that he got a few minutes of socialization in? Okay, so he had to figure all of that out. So he figured out that his cue was actually 3:30 in the afternoon. It was mostly around time. And his reward was that he liked to socialize with his friends. Okay, so he was able to change his routine to where, and I know that's a little blurry, I had to increase the image because it was smaller. So his cue is still 3:30, okay, and his reward is still.
We're not seeing a different slide.
You're not?
No, we've been on this first slide the whole time.
You're kidding.
No.
You've been on that slide?
Did I lie to you?
I don't know. No. Okay. So, all right. So that's the cigarette slide.
Right.
Okay. That's the slide of John going to the cafeteria.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. All right. So I'll just keep it like this then. Can you see that one with the routine, the different routine?
It says my new habit loop.
Yes. Okay. So John still has the cue at 3:30. And his reward is still that he gets to socialize with his friend. But instead of going to the cafeteria to grab a cookie, he goes and looks for a friend to socialize with. Okay. So let's take another one. Let's say you want to lose some weight. All right. You need to know what your cues are, what your triggers are, and you need to know what the reward is. And then you can change your routine. So instead of sitting on the couch all day or coming home and vegging out on your recliner from work, you can go to the gym. Okay. And so you can associate later on when the habit becomes a habit, a true habit, one that you do without even thinking about anymore, then the reward is associated with the cue. Let's take another example. Okay. Now, a great example that they used in the book is the 12-step recovery programs. Okay. And I like to use this idea of the 12-step recovery programs a lot because I think it has a lot to do with what we do in our business or what we don't do in our business. And so if you hear anything like any training or blog posts or videos from me, I relate it a lot back to 12-step programs, okay? And this is another example of it. Now, you have the cue. Maybe you're upset. Maybe you are feeling something you want to escape from, or you're in a situation you want to escape from. Or again, it's the time of day, okay? And so your routine is you go grab a beer or wine or whatever you drink, and your reward is you're more relaxed, you've escaped, you know, that feeling, okay? So if you know the cue, all right, and you know the reward, you can change the routine. And what 12-step programs do is they have sponsors. So instead of actually going and having a drink or gambling or overeating or anything else that they have, you can call a sponsor and unload your feelings and gain that reward instead of using the destructive habit. So this is actually my favorite and from the book, and I was actually going to do it on this tonight until I saw the little fishy story about what the hell's water. So Rosa Parks. Now, I am not a huge history fan. I failed history for 4 years in a row in high school. I only passed because he wanted to get me the heck out of his class. So he passed me by 1 point so I could graduate. So history is not a big thing for me, but I learned some things about the Rosa Parks that I did not know. And I'm sure a lot of people don't really realize it. Okay. So Rosa Parks, you know, she was arrested for sitting on the bus. Now, she wasn't sitting in the wrong spot. The first 4 rows were dedicated for whites. And then the next few rows were for whites or blacks, and then the rest of the bus was for blacks, okay? Well, she sat in the 5th row. She sat where she was supposed to sit. But as the bus got full, a white man got on the bus and he didn't have a place to sit, so the bus driver told her to move. And she said, no, I'm tired. She'd been working all day on her feet. She wanted to sit down for the bus ride. She said no, she wasn't sitting on the wrong spot. So the bus driver got up and threatened her, I'm going to call the police if you don't move. And she said, no, do what you have to do. Okay. So Rosa Parks was not the first person to be arrested for sitting on the bus or not moving when being told to move. She wasn't even the first person that year, or wasn't even the first woman that year. What incited the civil rights movement was the fact that she was connected with social influence. She worked for a lot of influential white people and black people, and they all knew her. Okay. She was a part of a lot of clubs. And so she knew a lot of people. And she called her mother when she got arrested, and her mother said, I'll call your husband. So she called her husband and said, you better go bail her out. She got arrested. And then her mom thought, who does Rosa know that has influence? And she started calling these people. And then these people called these people. And these people called these people. And before you know it, the Montgomery, that's like Ellie with mogul. Okay. Montgomery bus thing happened. All right. It was because of the social influence that Rosa had. However, you know, like a lot of other movements, it would have died out eventually. You know, after a couple of months, people would have lost interest. They would have found something else to, you know, take their attention. But because there was so much social influence and social pressure, that they kept at it, and it actually changed and became the civil rights movement, and then everything changed. So that is another form of a habit: social influence, social pressure, peer pressure. Okay. And so if we can just remove ourselves from that pressure that we are getting from other people, we can change our habit loop. So all great, Michelle, but what does this have to do with business? All right. Well, it's the same thing. And I want you to ask yourself that question. But it's the same thing. We all have habits. We need to do certain things for our business every single day consistently. Do we do it consistently? Sometimes yes, sometimes no, because it probably hasn't become a habit yet. But let's say you come home from work and you have dinner with your family, and then you kiss your spouse and you say, all right, I'm going to go work on my business. All right. So you go log on to Facebook because you use Facebook for marketing and building relationships. All right. And your reward would be the fact that you spoke to maybe 5 or 10 people, built relationships, prospected, recruited, whatever. But your habit instead is you get on Facebook and you get distracted by your timeline, and you get distracted by other people's timeline and other people's pictures and other people's videos and your notifications, and then your messages with your friends. And before you know it, you've spent 2 hours on Facebook and you've done absolutely nothing for your business. All right. Does that happen to you? I know it happens to me almost on a daily basis. So we need to change that routine. The cue will still be the same. We have dinner with our family, we kiss our spouse, and then we go to our office to work on our business. The reward is still the same. We've worked on our business. We've talked, we've chatted, we've prospected, we've built relationships. We wrote that blog post, did that video, whatever we needed to do. But the routine is different. Okay, maybe instead of we log on to Facebook, but we go immediately to our chat box and figure out who we can chat with. Or we go to our friends notifications and we see who we can friend or who has friended us that we can initiate conversations with. Once we've done all of that we need to do on Facebook for our business, then we can go to our timeline and our friends' timelines and everything else. So that's just one example of what habits do for you in your business. And you need to look at what you do on a daily basis or don't do on a daily basis for your business and think of what you can change and what you can improve on with your habits. I think that's all I had, but I'm sure somebody might spark something else. So does anybody have anything they wanted to say?
I like that. I'm going to jump right in here. I like that the way you laid out that, or they laid out in the book, the habit loop. I like the way that you can really define, you can bring that around to any habit that you have and want to change and just apply that, the cue, the reward, and then the change of the routine. And it is a lot like quitting smoking, because when you quit smoking, you have to find something else to fill that void, whether it's the in the hand or the whatever it is. My cue was, the telephone. The telephone rings, you grab your smoke and you light one up. Right, Ellie? Am I right? The coffee, the telephone. So you can relate that back to your business, where I like that you can just section it out like that and really look at it and decide where it is, what it is in your routine that you need to change. That's a really, really, really good point. Really helpful. Good work, Michelle.
Thanks. Anybody else have anything?
Yeah, the trick with that is understanding the reward. All right. It's not so much as about just replacing an action or what have you. There has to be something you do that can still give you that reward. So lots of times, I know 99% of the times why I smoke. I know exactly what I get from it. I'm okay with all of that. But I'm just saying, I know exactly why I do it. And there probably are other things that I could supplement. The routine is actually a supplement. I still want this reward. And sometimes it's, why do I want that reward? I know the one guy in that book, I'm still reading that book. But I know the one guy substituted, I think, meditation. He was giving up smoking. And he tried different things. He tried running. Right. He had that app. You missed it anyways, Jamie. But he tried running, I think. He tried some other exercise stuff, and that worked for a little while, but he still wasn't getting the same. And it's funny because the meditation did it for him, but everybody's is a little different. It is about figuring out the loop, but sometimes the loops are integrated. So you've got to really play with it. So you have to be motivated enough to go through all of that. And obviously, if you're looking to change your life, that should be enough motivation. It's fascinating when you really look at it, because you realize, that's when you realize your life is so much about your mind, okay? And that you really are running on robotics. That book to me is another eye-opener in that whole scenario of, look at how robotic we are, and we think we're these keen, bright, articulate beings. And 99% of the time we're not. We're robots, playing to an old story back here that looks kind of like it's serving us, but it's really not serving us. So I could take this to a whole nother level. It's just a very interesting, I highly recommend that book, The Power of Habit. I highly recommend it. So thanks for bringing this out.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Michelle, because I've been trying to figure out how to weave my business into this whole hangout tonight, and I haven't been able to. Damn you. I'm going to start wearing glasses too. I just decided when Ellie went to talk, I'm going to start wearing glasses, because when she goes to talk, it's coming down. Like, it's getting serious. Because she takes the glasses off and she moves aside and she's like, well, listen, did you ever notice that? And I think that you guys would take me just this much more serious if I had glasses. I might implement glasses and a pipe. I'm not sure. We'll see what happens next week. But what's really funny about habits is when we're all talking about smoking for some reason, and I decided when I was going to quit smoking that I was going to change my habit, because I got a driving job. And when you're trying to quit smoking and you drive, that was my cue, Danny. Like, the car ride, the music, the smoking, the coffee, it all happened at the same time. Sometimes the phone was on too. It was everything, okay? So I was up to 2 packs of cigarettes a day. So I had to cut back. And so I decided, well, you know what? I'm going to only smoke when I drink. So I cut back to when I was going to drink, because I didn't drink that much. So I started to drink more, so that I could smoke more cigarettes. It didn't work out. One day I just had to bite the bullet, and I wound up actually driving and smoking again, and then just saying, all right, I see what's going on here, and I'm weak, and I need to handle this quickly. But it's really, I've been trying to change my habits about how I approach my scheduling my day and the way my day takes off. Like, I run downstairs and I get my coffee and I think, all right, I'm going to go upstairs. I'm going to go sit at the computer and I'm going to do this. And then I don't know what happens. I wound up going through Facebook, and I wind up moving this paper here, and then seeing that my pens need organization, and then it's time to go. And and I missed my whole period. The whole thing is gone. And I go, okay, I'll change it tomorrow. So, but yeah, I can't get out of the habit of my morning being like not the time to work, right? So I need to really change that. But that whole Dr. Joe robotics thing, and what makes me mad, Ellie, is when I realize that I'm just running on program and I'm not actually awake at all in what I'm doing. Like that something comfortable happens and triggers this, and then before you know it, I'm just moving papers and scrolling down the news feed and letting time just trickle away, and then I move on to the next thing that normally would happen, then the next thing that normally would happen, and I'm fighting and resisting changing what I know I need to change all day long. So it makes me mad over and over. That the habit, the cue is I'm getting pissed and I'm trying to, I just go back into my whole thing. So yeah, it's hard. It's hard to change habits, and you have to really have that something, that change has to be really, it has to be really worth it. Focus on the reward and not the, you know, whatever you do that you need to change. The cookie's gotta go. The carrot's gotta come. You know what I mean? All right, and I'll just put my website underneath my name in a second there. Drink more water. I think that's what Michelle really wanted to say. Make sure you're drinking enough water every day. Stay hydrated. Talk to me about it if you have any problems.
What a shameless plug, Jamie.
No, you have no idea what I could have done just now.
Oh,
That's why she's the mogul.
I'm the mogul. I'm not a Mongol or Mongoloid. I am a mogul, okay, of the internet. And it hurts to hold back right now.
okay. Well, you know, there are a lot of stories in that book, and I've shared before. It has to be a special book to hold my attention, you know, and Mark and I went out of town and we drove 5 hours away, and I grabbed this book and I said, all right, I'm going to read this book, right? And I opened it up, and 2 pages later, I literally was asleep. That's what happens to me, okay? So it has to hold my attention. The Slight Edge held my attention, and The Power of Habit held my attention. They must have had 100 stories in there of you know, examples of this and of that, and you know, running on empty, or not running on empty, but running on program. You know, these Alzheimer patients, they can't remember anything, but they run on habits. It's been pre-programmed. And you know, there was another story in there about the London train station underground, that a lot of people lost their lives. These businesses instill these habits, the routines in their employees. And the example for this one was, everybody had their own department, and they could not encroach on anybody else's department, God forbid. And so safety couldn't be told by somebody else there was a safety issue. They had to figure it out themselves. All right. So there was a story of this teller who can only take tokens. He couldn't do anything else because his job was only to take tokens. Was told by this passenger, there is a Kleenex that's on fire at the end of the stairs. So he goes down there and he stomps out the fire, and instead of thinking, I should tell somebody about this, knowing he couldn't, he went back to his booth and he continued taking tokens, not realizing that there was a much larger fire just developing behind the wall. And before you know it, there's this huge fireball. All these people lose their lives. And it's only because the company instilled this habit of their employees that you only take care of your responsibility. All right. So obviously they had to change all of that. They had to change the habits and the routines that employees go through. You know, the title of this book is, it's actually The Power of Habit, why we do what we do in life and in business. And so we need to think about our businesses and what we're doing and what we're not doing and how we can improve it. And like Jamie, you know, maybe she should set her phone like Ellie does with that little bell that goes off. And when the bell goes off, oh yeah, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? No. Okay, then there are things that we can do. And so, yes, and it does take time. It takes your desire to change the habit that you've gotten into to something better, something more evolved, but it takes time. It takes time to find the cue, the right cue. It takes time to find the reward that you're looking for, the right reward, and it takes time to change that routine. So, does anybody else want to come out and say anything?
Yeah, as you spoke, Michelle, I did remember the fish story, so thank you for tickling my memory on that one. As far as how this is relating to our businesses, I think that there's a way that not only for our own behavior, but if we can figure out, and it would take some figuring, and I would assume that some marketers have done this already. If we could figure out that cycle with our prospects, I think we could make a big inroad into increasing our sales. I mean, what happens? We present something and automatically resistance comes up. You know, and then I don't know. I haven't really thought it through how this whole cycle goes. So that was the first thing I thought of when I was reading this book. I didn't think so much of myself. I thought of, geez, how could I apply this to the people that I'm talking to or whatever? So I don't know, that's my thought.
That's a great idea. I didn't think about, well, no, I didn't think about that.
Well, they talk about that in there. And I mean, just the fact that soap isn't naturally sudsy and doesn't have to be. Okay? So they found out they put an agent in there to make it sudsy because they've trained people to believe, okay, when you see the suds, okay, that you're getting clean. So they use it. They do use it. So they make more suds. And I can't remember the one now about the freaking toothpaste, but that was a big, huge story in there about what went on with the toothpaste and how they turned, I think it was Pepsodent, and how they turned it into the bestseller. All right. So they do use that, all right, in marketing land, understanding, you know, and we'll learn, we focus on, well, what's the problem? What's the solution? But really what you should be looking at is what's the reward? And how do you feel? I mean, we need to take this behind closed doors when we talk about this, but you know, that just about suds. As a matter of fact, they actually add more chemicals to soap that is probably not good for you to make it sudsy so you think you're getting clean. So that's a little cuckoo, but
I'm that person. I'm that person. It used to drive my grandparents crazy. But if I was doing dishes and I didn't see suds or the suds went away, I'd use more soap. And they'd be like, you're wasting soap. And I said, I don't see suds. It's not clean. Well, that doesn't mean it's, you know, we went through the whole thing. And I related so much to that story. And the other story about Febreze too, and what they used in their marketing. You know, they thought that people would want to use the product Febreze because of odors. And so they did this whole marketing campaign around that, and it wasn't successful. And they couldn't figure out what people wanted, what the reward was for people. And it's not, if it's not a clean house or a smelling, like getting rid of bad odors and not smelling that odor anymore, what is the reward? And it ended up being that when people were done cleaning, they would like it to smell clean. So they sprayed some Febreze in the room, and that helped them to think that get the reward. It's a nice, clean room. It's fresh. And so that took off, and it made Febreze what Febreze is today. But, Ellie, Carol, everybody, it's right. It's right. If you can take that in your business and you can think, what's the cue and what's the reward? And you can take that to your prospects, or you can use that to sell your products better. It has everything to do with your business. So anyway, Jamie's laughing. I don't know why she's laughing.
I just like the way you ended that. You were like, it was just funny.
Yeah, I know. When I'm doing my live videos, I'm like, hope that made sense. So anyway, anybody have anything else they want to add?
I'll add something. I'm talking about habits in business. Since I have like 8 animals, one of my bad habits is going every 20 minutes or half hour and go out to the other room and play with them. So I have to change that and go maybe like 2 hours, do the business, and then go and play with them for half an hour. Because I don't spend as much time as I should on what I should be doing. Instead, I'd go and play with the dogs or the cats and take them outside, and not what I should be doing. So it's hard when you have animals because you want to go and play with them. That's the one thing I find about working at home. That's hard because I love being with the animals, but it's just I have to do other things, and so I have to probably do it like in 2-hour increments or something, and then play for half an hour. And then another 2 hours or find something like that to help. So, because otherwise I'm too much outside, not doing what I should be doing. So I just thought I'd add that.
That's great, Catherine. And I can see that. And that would be a great reward, rewarding yourself after 2 hours of working, being able to go outside and play with your animals and a cute little kitty cat. So, Jamie likes to laugh at me. Anybody have anything else they want to add?
Jamie just likes to laugh.
Well, I'm glad to see Jamie laughing. So there was something else I wanted to say, but of course I don't remember what it is. So if nobody else has anything they want to say, we can end it early.
No, I think that's a huge topic to look at in so many different aspects of life. But as marketers, I really think it's humongous. And yeah, that was lately. I've hit some good books. That's one of my favorite top 10 now too. And I'm just reading another one that I really like. So I'm up to about 6 that filled up my top 10. I don't know how I'll work this out over the next few, but we'll see. But yes, I'm so glad you discussed this because, as I said, I think that's a huge issue. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, if we can get a handle on our habits and our business habits and being more consistent in our marketing and providing value and chatting with people, building relationships, everything we need to do to be successful in business, instead of moving paper around the desk, because I know exactly what Jamie's talking about too. So anyway, well, I think that wraps it up unless anybody else has anything else to say.
No,
Okay.
I want to get out of here because I want to go talk about this as far as our business, okay, and figure out that habit, that loop, okay, as marketers.
Okay, well, we are here every Tuesday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And so you can always join us at theboldteam.com. If you want to find out what kind of team we are on or why we are the Bold Team, then click either the green button or get back with the person who invited you here. And we will see you next Tuesday. Thank you for joining us. And go think about the habit loop and go see what you can change in your business and in your life. Thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.